Right now, you are probably tired. You have a list of things to do today: meetings, errands, a phone that never stops buzzing. You feel busy almost all the time. But the real answer is far stranger. For most of human history, your ancestors were not busy at all. Anthropologists who studied modern hunter-gatherer societies found something that broke every assumption about ancient life. The work was short. The rest was long. The famous researcher Marshall Sahlins called this discovery the original affluent society. Not affluent because people had more things. Affluent because they had more time. Picture a small band of humans, maybe 20 or 30 people, moving across a grassland 60,000 years ago. There was no clocks, no calendars, and no bosses. Just the sun, the season, and the rhythm of the land. What did they actually do? Hour by hour, day by day. Mornings started slow. There was no alarm. People woke when light hit their eyes, not when a number told them to. The first task was usually food, but not in the way you imagine. Gathering plants, roots, nuts, and fruit made up the majority of daily food. This was not backbreaking labor stretched across 12 hours. It was closer to a long, social walk with a purpose. Researcher Richard Lee studied the Juhoansi people of the Kalahari Desert in the 1960s. He tracked exactly how many hours adults spent finding food. The number surprised everyone. About 15 hours a week. Not 15 hours a day. 15 hours a week. Compare that to the standard 40-hour workweek most people live by today. Your ancient ancestors may have worked a fraction of that just to survive. Where did the rest of the time go? Talking. A lot of talking. Conversation was not a break from the real work. Conversation was a huge part of daily life itself. Stories about the hunt, gossip about who did what, jokes, arguments, and plans for tomorrow. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied campfire conversations among the Juhoansi and found that daytime talk focused on practical matters, like food and conflict. But nighttime talk, around the fire, shifted almost entirely to stories, myths, songs, drama. Why does that matter? Because stories taught lessons without lectures. They passed down survival knowledge, social rules, and history, wrapped inside something entertaining. Your brain, even now, remembers a story far better than a list of facts. That instinct did not come from nowhere. Children spent their days differently than children do now, too. There was no separate building called school. There was no desk, no worksheets. Instead, kids learned by watching, copying, and playing. A child might mimic a parent cracking nuts, or pretend to track an animal across the dirt. Play was not separate from learning. Play was learning. Afternoons often slowed down even further. Many hunter-gatherer groups rested during the hottest hours of the day. Naps were common, not as a luxury but as a normal, expected part of life. Your body still carries this rhythm. That heavy, sleepy feeling many people get in the early afternoon is sometimes called a circadian dip, a natural drop in alertness built into your biology. Ancient humans simply listened to it. Modern humans push through it with caffeine. What about danger? Surely, there was no time to relax with predators and threats everywhere. Here is where it gets interesting. Ancient humans were not constantly hunting large animals or fighting for survival every single day. Big hunts happened, but they were occasional events, not daily ones. Meat from a single large kill could feed a group for days. So even hunting, the most dramatic part of the lifestyle in our imagination, left long stretches of open time. That open time was filled with craft, making tools, repairing weapons, weaving baskets, decorating bodies with paint or ornaments. Archaeological sites have uncovered shell beads over 100,000 years old, found far from any coastline, suggesting they were traded or carried long distances purely for decoration. Why would a species fighting for survival every hour spend energy on jewelry? because survival was not actually consuming every hour. There was also tremendous amounts of social maintenance. Relationships needed tending, just like they do now. Grooming, both literal and emotional, mattered. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar proposed that conversation evolved in humans the same way physical grooming functions in other primates, as a way of building trust and social bonds across a larger group than touch alone could manage. Talking, laughing, and storytelling were the glue holding the band together. So, if work was short, conversation was constant, naps were normal, and play was learning. What filled the late afternoon and evening? Often, ceremony. Rituals marking a hunt, a birth, the changing of a season, or simply the setting sun. Music using clapping, simple instruments, and rhythm appears in nearly every documented hunter-gatherer culture. Movement and rhythm together release the same feel-good chemicals your brain releases now during a concert or a dance with friends. Your ancestors were not waiting for a stage performance. They were the performance every single night. Here is the twist that changes everything. This lifestyle did not end because it failed. Many researchers now argue that the shift toward agriculture, beginning roughly 12,000 years ago, actually increased daily labor for most people, not decreased it. Farming meant longer hours, more physical strain, and food supplies that depended entirely on weather and soil instead of the wide flexibility of foraging across a varied landscape. Skeletal remains from early farming communities show signs of more joint stress and nutritional deficiency compared to foraging populations before them. So, why did agriculture spread if it meant harder days? Because it allowed populations to grow far larger in a fixed area. More food per square mile. Even if it meant more work per person, it supported bigger groups, which eventually became villages, then towns, then cities. Humanity did not trade a hard life for an easy one. Humanity traded a flexible life for a productive one. That trade kept compounding. Villages needed organization. Organization needed leaders. Leaders needed record keeping. Record keeping needed writing. Each step added structure, and each layer of structure added obligation. The wide open afternoons of the ancient foragers slowly filled in with schedules, taxes, shifts, and eventually emails. Think about your modern day again. Wake to an alarm, not sunlight. Commute through traffic or scroll through a feed before even standing up. Sit through meetings that could have been a short conversation. Eat lunch at a desk instead of with the whole group. Come home too tired to make music or tell stories around a fire, so you watch someone else's stories instead, through a screen. Your brain has not changed nearly as much as your environment has. Neuroscientists studying stress responses point out that the human nervous system still reacts to deadlines and notifications the same way it once reacted to physical threats, even though almost nothing in modern daily life is an actual emergency. Your ancestors' biology, built for short bursts of effort followed by long stretches of rest and connection, is still running underneath your packed calendar. That mismatch may explain why so many people feel constantly exhausted despite working what looks, on paper, like a reasonable schedule. It is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is a nervous system tuned for 15 hours of weekly labor stretched across 40 or more. So the next time the afternoon slump hits and you reach for coffee instead of rest, remember where that pull comes from. It is not new. It is ancient. It is the same rhythm that once sent a small group of humans into the shade to nap, talk, and wait for the cool of evening before gathering around a fire to tell stories under a sky with no other light at all. Right now, you are probably tired. But the real answer is far stranger than burnout or bad time management. You were built for a different kind of day. One with less doing and more living.